Clannad has completely changed my life. Now I'm sure this is probably really cringy to hear, but it's true. Now I'm sure I'm not alone in that sentiment, because if it hasn't brought you to tears multiple times, then I'm convinced you're not even human. Clannad is a very emotional show, and it really gets you down and brings you back up and then brings you down again. A lot of people say that the first season of Clannad is bad, which is just wrong. Like, did we even watch the same show? It's not bad, not even close. The only arc that's a little rough is the Fuka arc, but it's still really good and really emotional. All the arcs are really emotional, and I think that Clannad is really good at getting your emotions riled up with each of these arcs. I feel like you'll start to cry or tear up more and more, but seriously, the first season of Clannad is all about developing the characters. Each character gets their own arc to develop their characters, especially since we aren't going to be seeing most of them in the second half of the series, so they need arcs to help develop their characters because they're really important to the main characters. Plus, they're important to the visual novel if you take any of the other routes, so of course we're going to be needing their development. And because of the slow pacing, I feel people don't give the first season of Clannad enough praise, especially since it gets overshadowed by the god tierness that is Clannad Afterstory. I know someone, I'm not going to name any names, who literally dropped the show because it was too slow paced, and it's just like, okay, but you're missing out on one of the greatest anime ever made just because of it was slow paced, which although I've mentioned a few times, I actually don't agree with either, because the first season is split up into 5 arcs, each of them developing certain characters and helping to move the story along at a pretty good pace. And there are some sections that might seem boring and repetitive, but those sections are put there to help and allow characters to grow in some subtle ways instead of just always throwing things into their face constantly, which I think is better. Everyone has that one character they can call like their waifu or their all-time favorite character, and in my case it's Nagisa Furukawa / Okazaki. She is probably the character I can relate to the most. Now I don't mean in personality or anything, because she is way too damn nice and innocent for me to say our personalities are similar, but when it comes to the fact of her sickly body and how she's missed a lot of school because of her being sick, that is something I can relate to on a level that is honestly insane. Now she isn't the only character like that, but she is the character I think portrays it the best. I know from personal experience how lonely you could be after coming back to school after being gone for so long. It feels like everyone has changed and that you were left behind, but I love how Nagisa doesn't let that get to her, and she makes new friends in her repeat year, which is something I couldn't accomplish. So to me, it just shows how truly strong she is as a person. Because back when I missed school from my surgeries because of my sickness, I was always lonely, and the friends I still somewhat talked to were living their own lives, having fun. And I was just stuck inside, not able to do anything, always alone. All the friends I had were forgetting about me, and eventually when I came back to school, I had no one. It was hard for me to talk to my old friends despite the fact that I made it look easy. And I'm glad that my friends are great people, but I still felt, and even still kinda do feel, isolated from all of them. And it was at that time that I discovered Clannad and Nagisa, and it was then that I realized there's someone out there who has it worse than me. But she was still strong, amazing, and kind. When I got to Afterstory, I just completely broke down after her death, because unlike me who won his fight, she lost, and that just completely broke me. And then when her daughter had to go through the same thing, I was just completely done at that point. I've never cried more watching an anime than when I watched Clannad. It just brought something out of me that I had never felt before, and maybe that's because I finally had a character I could relate to, because that was something I never had before. So when anything happened, I just became a wreck because of it, and completely changed the way I look at life itself, because before Clannad, I honestly didn't care what happened to me, but then after watching Clannad, I realized that I need to cherish my life that I have and live the absolute fullest. The dynamic of family in Clannad is great. They really try to show that not every family is perfect, and that there will always be problems, despite there always being love. Like with Tomoya and his father. The first season we barely see anything of him, but what we hear of him isn't good. In an Afterstory, after Tomoya has become a father and even went through the same pain as his own father, they reconcile a little bit, and Tomoya finally realizes just how much his father loved him all this time, despite not always showing it. And I absolutely love Nagisa's family, because they're a family that looks great on the outside, but when we start to learn more about them and the parents' past, we realize that not everything has always been sunshine and rainbows, and that at first, Akio and Sanai would leave their daughter at home alone all the time because they wanted to live their dreams, but then, when it finally gets to that point, where Nagisa almost died, that's where they changed and decided to devote themselves entirely to the daughter, which culminates in one of my favorite quotes, which is, "We didn't give up on our dreams, we changed our dreams into your dream." That's what parents do. That's what family does, which is just super powerful and something I fully agree with as a person. I feel like this is how parents should always act towards their children. Family is a big theme of Clannad, and I think that out of all the anime that have tried to portray families, I feel like Clannad is the most realistic story on that front, because it doesn't sugarcoat anything, and it just gets straight to the point that every family has problems, whether or not they show it, and of course that is absolutely amazing. I praise the music in a lot of shows for having a lot of emotion behind them and really being able to feel that emotion, and I mean that now more than ever when it comes to the Clannad soundtrack. It is the only soundtrack that I can listen to literally any song and remember a scene and feel that emotion. There isn't a single song in the entire soundtrack that I can't picture a scene from the show, and of course all of my favorite songs are tracks that play in tragic moments, like with Snowfield for instance. Every time I hear the song being played, I remember Ushio's death scene, and I just break down. It doesn't come very often where there is this piece of music that can always bring out an emotion in me no matter when I listen to it, like Roaring Tides or Dango Daikozaku do. Those are some amazing songs from the Clannad soundtrack that I can literally listen to any time and always be brought to tears because my mind always brings back scenes in my mind and I always fall apart, but I love that about the soundtrack because it always allows me to let out emotions which I don't normally get to. Clannad is a life-changing show. It shows you family dynamics and it really makes you look inside of yourself and strive for change. It is a show that has beautiful writing and characters that bring everything together, and please watch the show if you haven't because I'm telling you it will definitely change your life for the better as it did for me and everybody else that has watched the show.